What's up guys, it's Wilson, also known as Design by Will. In today's video we're going to be putting together this amazing graphic that I think is very simple to do. These effects used in this graphics, you can utilize them in your own projects and you don't have to limit yourself to match the exact same thing that I'm doing. I'm just showing you a way to get this look and you can utilize it in your own streetwear. The original inspirational reference for this piece was represent clothing or represent clo. They have this really heavy distressed dog tee and it has these two dogs barking, so that's where my main inspiration came from. I wanted to play on that look and that effect and bring it into a more modern context like the Y2k style and make it a little bit better for the current theme or the current environment that streetwear is in right now. We have our cutout images from Unsplash. About 90% of the photos that I utilize in my projects on this YouTube page are from Unsplash. Even though they don't sponsor me, it's an amazing place to get beautiful stock images. And I know a lot of people DM me asking me, where did I get this photo? Where did I get that photo? They're all from Unsplash. I don't know the exact artists, but I'll make a conscious effort in my next video to highlight those artists that actually took the photo. So we've just centered the design itself. We've put both of the dogs facing outwards, left and right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a clipping mask on the first dog, and we're just going to get the highlights from the original photo of the woman, and we're going to recreate those highlights and shadows on the dogs themselves to just bring the piece together. I'm not necessarily doing anything special in terms of the highlight. I'm just getting a bigger brush and doing the general outline of what the glow would look like, and then getting a smaller brush with a more intense and brighter color, and then going around on the fine edges and just looking like it's intensifying as it gets closer to the edge, just to create a more realistic look. Now if I were to do this completely realistically, I would have to go into the dog and highlight the individual hairs and stuff like that, make it look extremely nice, but that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose is to make a whole streetwear graphic and not focus on the dog. I am going into the teeth just because I feel like they should stand out a little bit more. Like I said, using that intense color on the outline or the edge, and then going back in with a more open brush and making it fade a little bit outwards with a more darker color of like that blue. Instead of going through that whole process again, I just duplicated the other dog that I already did the highlights to and put a hue and saturation and just change the color to the orange or the greenish tone that's coming from her right side, and then used a mask or the mask that already comes with it, went in with the black brush and removed the color from the actual dog. So you see how it's looking brown a little bit, but the highlight color is exactly what we want. Just remove the rest of the effect with the mask, and yeah, you get the look without having to do all the work again. So we're just going to be popping into the new Nebula asset pack for Illustrator. It's more like a low-key pack that if you don't want to fully invest into Illustrator yet, you can just go for this pack. It's a generalization of Oasis Planet and Oasis Stars, just with some more like very niche and in trend right now graphics. Like for instance, the targets, they're very in trend right now with all the streetwear graphics that I've seen, especially with anime girls. And then they put the target in front of the anime girl holding a gun and it instantly blows up. So I just wanted to recreate a pack that would represent that. Um, right now we're just making a Y2k style title. Um, Something simple. If you guys want to know how I did it, just go watch my latest video. Exact same process, but I'll break it down in this video for you guys. So we're just looking for a blocky font. So now that we got our font, we're just going to create outline, and then we're going to ungroup the whole thing. Select control and group that, and then select mind and then group that, holding Command G, putting mind on top, just making it larger. And we're just basically, the idea is we're going to make the lines look like they're connecting to each other, like they're cut off. So you see how the M and the N, we can make it look like it's split in half. That's the idea. Brings the whole design together. But that N and the T is a little bit too close, so we're just going to move it up a little bit. And that's just going to be the whole basis. Like, this is not really something that I'm focusing on. It's a personal YouTube project. So that's really all we're gonna do. And then we're just gonna hop into the Nebula pack and just play with the assets. I'm gonna end up using the target, but it's good to play around with assets and see how it looks, especially with the new funky ones. Even though that did look cool, it doesn't really suit the current theme of the design. So to create visual cohesion, we're just gonna go back and just get one of the targets with the love heart. I think it really suits the girl in the image with the dogs. Like she's like the target culprit for something, and it would really play on those words or the look of the design. You want to always look towards bringing visual cohesion and visual hierarchy in your design. You want to make sure everything makes sense. Even if it doesn't make sense, like your design, you want to make sure visually it looks like everything is put together well. And that's the goal. Now that we got our typeface done, we're just going to make it 3D by expanding everything and then grouping everything. Then we're just going to go up and just write 3D and extrusion. And I'm going to pick my material first and then go back to object extrusion because I realized it wasn't extruded. And I'm just going to play with how deep I want it. I don't want it too deep or anything, but I just want it at a good depth. And you can do and play with the lighting and all that, but I don't really focus on that. I just want to make it look cool. And it already has like cool lighting effects already put onto it, so there's no reason for me to go back and edit that. Um, Design itself is very simple. I just want to make it look 3D, and that's basically it. Like that's all I did. It wasn't that hard at all. I'm just gonna change this material. After I finished the design, I realized this title didn't really match. And it wasn't the title, it was most of the material that I used for the 3D element, which was kind of annoying, but all in it did work with everything. Beautiful. Once that's rendered out, we're just gonna highlight the whole thing, Command C, go into Photoshop, and then Command V. As you can see, I was playing with the placement of it, and just seeing how it would look overall. Should have kept it just as simple thing, or should have made the actual love heart target crosses themselves 3D also, just to bring a little bit more visual cohesion. Just gonna bring it on top. I'm gonna put it underneath the woman. I thought it would look good in front, but it just looks a little bit better underneath. And basically, this is our design feat. This is our design piece. It does look a little bit in the space or not brought together completely, and I'm just looking at ways I could just bring it together and make it one. I played with colors and stuff like that, but all in, I ended up adding another element. So I just went in with a big brush and added these dots, and it just made it look 10 times more futuristic. And it's always good to experiment into your design because you never know what these little special things can do for your project. So now that we have the complete design ready itself, like we have it and we know what it looks like, we're basically just gonna group it all, make it into one group, and we're gonna start applying effects and playing with it. Now you can always experiment with a lot of different stuff, but the first thing I do is I experiment with gradient maps. Gradient maps are a good way to bring everything together because it makes everything into one color. So it brings it all into one color. And I'm just going through the map pack 49 and I'm just playing with a bunch of different gradients. And this was the ultimate thing for this design, using a gradient. Like I usually don't use these crazy gradients unless it's like some sort of custom crazy order, but I don't know, it just really worked with this project. And I feel like it was the futuristic look with the dogs and her with the glasses, and everything just tied in very well. Lovely. So now that we got the color for our design, we're basically just going to go in and grab any texture pack that you have. I'm going to be utilizing these black textures that I've made with my new scanner. They're scanned at 600 dpi, so the resolution is extremely crisp. I'm looking forward to updating the black texture pack on my website, and I've sent these out to people who've already ordered the black texture pack. And I'm just trying it out, trying the different colors and trying the different blend modes. Now I got the design to a substantial part on how I want it to look. I'm just gonna add this little flare in here just to add some more dynamic range to the design. There's a lot of highlights, and I just want to highlight that little section of white on her glasses. And that part is really dark with that one little light, so it's good to just highlight it and make it stand out a little bit more. Next, I'm just gonna get the design and make it more readable by adding mind control but in handwritten font at the bottom, just because I feel like the title itself is not that readable with all the effects going on at the moment. So we really want to put that branding on there so people know this is our brand. I know everyone's going towards minimal branding, but I feel like at the beginning stage of your company or your brand, you really want to make sure people know who you are. And the best way to do that is just slap it on a t-shirt so people read the t-shirt and put in a cool design, because that'll resonate with people and it'll stay in their mind a little bit longer. Now I'm just playing around with this. This is completely trash. I'm just gonna delete that. I don't know why I did that, but I just felt like the space was a little bit empty. But yeah, good to experiment. So in the actual group that we have our design, we're just going to duplicate that and convert that into a smart object. Once that's done, we're just going to go up to effects and we're just going to click blur, then radio blur, and just keep it on the draft settings. And it makes this really cool effect that like, it just looks really sick, and especially with the design. I was going to leave it like that, but then I was like, you can't really look at the other work that I've done. And then I just started playing with the blend modes, and this just completely changed the whole feel of the design. Like, I feel like this really brought the project together once I did this. And this is why I always encourage people to experiment, especially with Photoshop. Play with all the different effects, because this is super sick. And I've done this a lot, especially with projects. You guys probably haven't noticed it, but I use this to make it look more grunge without having to go in and like delete stuff. You just add something to it and then you blend it, and it just looks really cool. It's really hard to print. That's why I don't do it for client projects. Lastly, we're just going to add another gradient map by just going down to adjustment layers and adding a gradient map. I'm playing with different gradients, and I feel like this one looks crazy. Like, just look at that. Like, look at all the little details and the scratches and stuff like that. It just brings the whole design together, and it just looks super nice if you just look at it. Um, and everything is put on a clipping mask inside folders. Now I'm just changing the blending modes and seeing what else it would look like, but the design itself has come a very long way compared to how it started. Like, I was really unsure about it, but now that we've played with all these different textures and effects, it's really cool. And in total, it's legitimately 3 textures. Beautiful. So this is basically the final design itself. I recommend just grouping everything and then converting that into a smart object so you have it and it's easy to move around when you put it on mockups and stuff like that. And you can also just play with curves to darken the color if you want to, or lighten the color. Not really needed or recommended, just something to add. So now that the design is done, I'm just putting on a black background, and I'm just going to put on this little mock-up. I just want to know the overall feedback that you guys got from this design. How do you guys feel about the design itself? Personally, I would rate it a solid 9 out of 10. I really like how this project turned out, and the design, and also the colors. The colors look really sick. And the cool thing about using gradients and gradient maps is I can change these colors instantly to whatever I want, which is perfect, especially if you want to make multiple t-shirts or multiple prints in different colors. And that's it. I'll see you guys when I see you. Make sure to stay safe. Stay away from, I don't know if I can say that. Stay away from that pandemic. Take care. See you later. It's been Wilson, also known as Design by Will. I'll see you guys when I see you. Peace.